Rich San Francisco
I saw
residents
this.
get a shock. Someone bought their street.
How does this work?
So there's two people, Tina Lam and Michael Chang, and they're both immigrants from Hong Kong. They were here in the U.S. for school. They fell in love with San Francisco, but couldn't afford to buy real estate or anything. So, so Michael Chang, they were poking around on real estate sites.
They were here for school.
They're here for school, and then they ended up getting jobs. They live outside,
Okay.
outside of San Francisco. Always dreamed that they would love to buy something in San Francisco, but as we all know, it's so expensive.
Crazy.
I think it's even crazier than New York now to a certain extent, but it's an expensive world city to live in. And so they never in all their life imagined they would ever have enough money at their age to buy any sort of real estate in San Francisco, but they still poked around on the sites, real estate sites. And this auction popped up in the Presidio, and everyone knows the Presidio is a beautiful, beautiful area. And there's an area, a private area where Senator Dianne Feinstein, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi lives, financier Richard Bloom, the former mayor. It's a guarded area in the Presidio, 35 big mansions. If you're watching on the video, you'll see the map. The Presidio, as you know, John, we've gone through
Right by the park then.
Beautiful, right by the park. It's guarded, it's private. Even up until 1948, only whites were allowed to purchase and buy into the neighborhood. So that makes this even funnier that what happened happened. So apparently in San Francisco, you're supposed to pay a $14 a year property tax.
Each property.
Each property, and as an owners association, because they were private owners association, and there's 181 of them, which then become private streets in San Francisco. So this homeowners association, with all these wealthy and whatever, they had a tax accountant from the 80s that was handling this for them, but he moved his office and no one ever changed the address of the billing. And so the bills just went unanswered for 30 years.
Whoa. I did not know it was 30 years?
Yeah, it sounds a couple decades, since the 80s.
What I read was that the bills were being delivered to a Pilates studio.
Well, it says
that's where his
it might have been the old office. They said that the attorney for the Presidio Homeowners Association said the group had failed to pay up because its tax bills were being mailed to a Kearny Street address used by the accountant who hadn't worked there since the 80s. So these bills are going there. So nobody paid the $14. So they owed $994 in tax.
Just $994.
It was $14 a year, right? So what happened was the city puts the property up for auction online. So all the streets, all the little islands, all the nice little sidewalks, everything around, and so the road, the sidewalks, not the houses, just the private street and the little grass islands you could see there. You know, the nice the greenery and so forth. And they put it up for auction, and the people started pouncing on it. So this couple was able to snatch up the parcel for $90,100. So they won the bid.
By the way, Don from Alabama is on the line, and he has a comment about this.
Okay. So they said that they ended up purchasing it, and the homeowners had no idea. So
$900 was owed, and they paid.
So it went to auction. So now people are bidding on it. So they paid $90,000. They're like, wouldn't it be cool to own the Presidio, to own the street and the Presidio? And what they're going to do with it, who knows? So they purchased it in 2015 and kept quiet about it. Homeowners didn't know. So they hired a title attorney that started poking around to find out what could possibly be done. And one of the things they came up with is they were going to start charging the residents to park on the street. The residents went in an uproar and said, absolutely not. And then the two people who bought it said, well, if you don't want to, parking's a premium in San Francisco. We'll just open it up to the city.
Oh, my God.
So this private street now becomes anybody can come park. And so they're now trying to send this off to the board of supervisors in San Francisco. And they said they've never, ever had a hearing on a rescission. So they said this happened 2 years ago. It's almost well beyond people protesting it now because it's happened too far in the past.
It's like a statute of limitations.
Right. And they said that it's going to be very tough to overturn. The couple says they're in no hurry to sell. He said, I'm a first-generation immigrant. I never could imagine I would have had to own any sort of property in San Francisco. And they said, we'll see what happens. They said, but the more we dig into this, the more interesting it gets.
It's like a strange version of Monopoly. It's like buying Baltic Avenue.
Yeah. But can you imagine this just pops up on auction and they buy it, and now the homeowners, they said, are crazy.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, but kept it quiet. And they said the homeowners had no idea until the title search companies started poking around and saying, you know, would you have any interest in buying parking, or what would you consider about blah, blah, blah. And people, what do you mean? Well, you have a new owner. There's a new owner at
Wow, new sheriff in town.
New sheriff in town. So you said we had a call.
Don's on the line.
Don, what would you have to add to that story?
Oh, just one correction is that all the elected officials moved out of that area over a decade ago, but there are 4 islands there. I say he puts up a taco stand, a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Wendy's, or at least proposes that, and see how fast before they buy it back from him.
Don, there's got to be a thing. We got to pick the gnarliest franchises, right, to do pop-ups on the islands.
Churches. Yeah, it says past homeowners
I've got
included Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi, and they said as a round-the-clock guard tower at the Stonegate entrance. But you've got to figure, you know what happened, right? They just thought someone else was doing it,
The
and
job.
Oh, yeah,
I think it's a funny thing. Would you have purchased it?
absolutely.
What would
I
you?
put a pot stand on each corner and said, you either buy me out or start
pot
dealing with
stand.
traffic.
It's a good way to make money, right?
Absolutely.